I just don't understand at this point. Like, RFK says that breast milk is best for babies. It's obvious that breast milk is best for babies. It's literally designed for them specifically and individually. Okay, that's not anything that anybody should ever argue. Now, if you choose to breastfeed or not, that's your business. Okay, nobody's calling you a bad mother if you choose to not breastfeed. But obviously, the breast milk that comes from the body that also created the baby, if the milk is being produced by the body that created the baby, and the baby's saliva literally communicates with the mother's nipple in order to tell the mother what antibodies to produce.
Hold on, because it's crazy that we have to even be having this conversation right now. Obviously, by the laws of nature and how women were created, how God created women, and how God created females and birth givers, when they're giving birth, naturally their body produces milk. Some women do come across complications where they don't, and that's why you have your doctors to fix or adjust something. If you cannot produce milk, they have ways to fix that. And if they don't and you have to put your kid on formula, then that's understandable, but it still never should be a conversation where we're arguing that breast milk isn't the most natural form for a baby. Why the fuck are we having that conversation? We can understand complications happen. We can understand some women cannot, but that doesn't mean that it takes away from it being the most purest natural form of feeding a child. That's why the body produces it. It's crazy the fucking world that we are living in today. But anyways, let's listen to the rest of her.
The baby's saliva literally communicates with the mother's nipple in order to tell the mother what antibodies to produce in the breast milk. Obviously, living breast milk is better for babies than formula. And we as a society could agree on that and then make sure that mothers are supported with maternal leave, and mothers are supported with their health and nutrition, and mothers are supported with all lactation support possible so that more babies can be breastfed, as opposed to being exposed to infant botulism through these formulas. But instead of us just coming together saying, yes, this is true, and as a society, we've got to do better to support mothers to be able to breastfeed. No, there's a bunch of people who are taking it personally, talking about how they couldn't produce breast milk and how whatever, all of these different, like, what are we even talking about here? If you could, you're supposed to be able to produce breast milk. As a mother, you're supposed to be. So if you couldn't produce breast milk, maybe that's because of the food they're feeding us. Maybe that's because of the stress that you were under, societal stress. Maybe that's because of the lack of hydration. Maybe there are other circumstances that if those circumstances were corrected, you would have been able to breastfeed. I am so tired of society shaping itself around not nature, shaping itself around when things go wrong, as opposed to figuring out how to make things right and keep them right.
And I noticed as I was scrolling through her comments to see what other people had to say about it, this comment caught my eye. This person said, my mom had to formula feed me because she had a medical condition and the treatment made her milk poisonous. The downside is that I was always sick when I was a baby, and I had a very poor immune system growing up. I don't blame her because she didn't have a choice, but if a mother does have a choice, I hope we would all know the benefits of a mother's milk. Like, obviously. Even this person was like, how could anyone think that a bunch of chemicals would be good for a baby? Sure, they can survive, but is it really good for them? No, it shouldn't be the first choice unless it is the only choice. I like this comment too. This person said, child, the fact that this is even a debate or a conversation is wild to me. Exactly. The fact that we have just gone so far as a society to think that some powder in a can from a factory is as good as what Mother Nature created. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? This comment said, breast is best, but if breast is not available, then it is what it is. People need to know that it's okay to not be offended by just scientific facts. When my baby was born back in August, he had to go into the NICU for breathing issues, and they gave him formula through his feeding tube until I made enough breast milk for him. I didn't have a choice in the matter because I wasn't able to put him to breast because of his condition, obviously. And like I said, that is 100% understandable. But how y'all getting offended that people are saying that breast is best? Because it is, and every mother would choose that first over formula, or should. if they have that option, because what the body naturally produces while it's growing a baby will obviously be the first choice on what is going to be the best nutritional option for that child over, like that person said, something that's made in a fucking factory. I don't even understand. I cannot fathom how people are getting offended by that.